Yes? If somebody wants to come tell me I can't, but I'm doing a news report from here. What?
Seems like an odd thing to do.
It seems like a normal thing to do.
So to whom are you broadcasting?
I'm just making a recording of what happened in the meeting. Would you like to join me?
No, thank you.
Okay, so JD Gallagher is the head of the Young Democrats. Well, JD Gallagher invited me to come to a Democrat Central Committee. I have never been in a Democrat meeting. I've never been to a Democrat office or headquarters or anything like that. So me, the guy who has put together dozens of Trump events, has my multiple Trump hats, official Trump hats, has spearheaded hundreds and hundreds of Trump signs being disseminated throughout the county, is invited to a Democrat meeting. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go. If the Young Democrats invite me to come to a Democrat Central Committee meeting, I'm up for it. I'm up for engaging, and maybe we'll see what happens. Maybe I can have an impact on some or all of them. But you know what? I'm not going to wear my Trump hat just out of respect, and because I don't want to get attacked, I will just wear my watchdog hat. All right, so I came to the Democrat meeting. JD Gallagher had invited me to the meeting. It was an experience. The people were generally friendly and not at all obnoxious, except for Patty Lawrence. She kept lecturing me. She clearly was mad that I was there. JD Gallagher had invited me. I think he's in trouble. He's the head of the Young Democrats. So let me kind of give a rundown of what happened in the meeting. It was mostly very pedestrian stuff. What happens in the meetings is, I guess, very similar to what happens in Republican meetings. They have a liberal bent to stuff, but it's, who can man the fair booth? We need more people for the fair parade. It's just stuff like that. It's not some deep, dark secrets. So the meeting started at about 6:30. I got there about 6:35. Patty Lawrence gave me grief then. She gave me grief during introductions. They have a time when it's anybody's first time attendee, introduce yourself. I introduced myself, and she gave a lecture to me then about apparently, was obnoxious. Her behavior towards me was obnoxious. There were about 50 chairs in the room. They were packed. They were completely full. They had to get more chairs. I sat next to Guy Guckenberger Jr., who was at least friendly to me. We have very different views as to Trump. When Patty Lawrence, during the introductions, Patty Lawrence, for a second time, reminded me that there was no recording, and I didn't record. I had already acknowledged this at the beginning of the meeting, and because she had told me that there was no recording. And let me see what else. They had two candidates that introduced themselves. Danielle Wessel, who's running for Batavia Township trustee, and Deidre Helsbaker, who's running for City of Loveland Council. Stuff was pedestrian. They thanked the people that organized the No Kings rally, had claps for them. They were upset about the SD1 petition failing, and that's really about it. There was typical Democrat philosophies, not talked about but kind of implied, that they're for more of this or more of that. What you would expect in a Democrat meeting, that there'd be an undercurrent, or they were for Democrat type things. And then at the end of the meeting, there was more Patty Lawrence giving me grief, which then I had kept my mouth shut the whole meeting, and I gave grief back, that you can't stand up there and say that it's an open meeting and then chastise anybody that comes to the meeting that's not somebody you like. Patty Lawrence, I've asked her to do an interview. I've asked her to do an interview specifically on what the Democrat vision is for Clermont County, not these national issues. She refuses to do it, and apparently she doesn't like any outsiders, and that's unfortunate. So, any event, that's all that happened. That's my report, and I thank JD Gallagher. He came out and was going to do an interview with me, but then he said he thought he needed to get back in there because he thought he was in trouble for having invited me to the meeting. So, any event, that's the scoop, and that's the summary from here. At my first ever stepping into a room of Democrats in Clermont County knowingly, I guess I stepped into the Board of Elections. There's some Democrats there, but knowingly stepping into a room of Democrats, and fairly pedestrian stuff, just like Republican meetings, on things like who's going to man the fair booth, what's coming up, events coming up, things like that, clapping for people. I did find that having first-time attendees introduce themselves was a nice touch. They were all greeted warmly, except for me. I was singled out repeatedly by Patty Lawrence's that she thought me being there was nothing but a partisan trick to be there. The funny part is, had she not done that, I wouldn't be saying anything about it. So Patty Lawrence, it's on you that you constantly kept chastising me during the meeting when I said nothing, did nothing, until the very end, when I kind of had it with constantly getting berated and chastised by you. So I tried to be careful in what I did in my interaction to have nothing that could be construed as giving advice, or any ideas. And I think if I were asked, I would probably give honest answers. But to be honest, I think Patty Lawrence lacks the maturity to be able to ask an outsider for feedback on what happened. But I do want to highlight, I'm a believer in going into other cultures. And if you see things, even if you despise the culture in general, if you see things that they do that are positive, then you should not be afraid to emulate those particular things. So I want to hit on a couple of things that I thought were positive vis-a-vis what I've seen in Clermont County Republican meetings. One was that they had name tags, so that people had name tags so that it was easier to be conversational. They had maybe like 53, 54 people there in total. So more than Republicans are getting at their meetings currently, but the Republican committee is much larger than that, and so you can't just assume everybody knows each other. So name tags, okay? That was a good idea. Name tags for visitors. They did at the beginning of the meeting a thing where raise your hand if you're a first-time attendee, and if you're a first-time attendee, you had the option to introduce yourself. I thought that was a positive. I also noticed in the room that in the back corner, they had some typical type of Democrat pictures you would expect, Obama, Biden, FDR, shit like that, Sherrod Brown. But they also had like a little library of books, and I looked at some of the books there. Some of them were like a Fauci book, a Clinton book, etc. And so they were liberalish type books, or the kind of books you'd expect Democrats to have. But I thought having a little library, I don't know how they do that, but assuming people can come and kind of take those books and read them, having a little library available to members, that's a good idea too. So, maybe these are things that the Clermont Republicans could learn from. Name tags, introductions for first-time attendees, and having a little book library where people can check in and out. Maybe even let members of the community come in and check in and out books. Have a little card system or something. If there are conservative books in terms of the Republicans that people would want to read. So those are just some insights on a few positive things that I think that could be emulated on the Republican side.